Welcome back. We have Sami Steigmann with us again this week. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm very good, and I'm always curious. Okay, what the next question will be?
Wonderful.
Obviously, said it is ad hoc. I have no idea what you will ask, so obviously, I'm speaking from the heart. Nothing is prepared.
Wonderful. Okay, here it is. I was going to get to this question anyways, but what we discussed last week leans to this. You were talking about how some of these people that did some of these atrocities, they were highly intelligent people. They weren't just simple people, you know. But I mean, it's understood that the way Hitler started off, he started with the low and then he built and built, and the intelligent people came on board. Um, but what I'm trying to get at is that last week you were mentioning how these were highly intelligent people. So in my research, just in my life here and there, what I've come across is the understanding that in the Nazi regime, in Nazi Germany, I would say that I think it's something like 80% of the soldiers, the officers, were college graduates or post high school, very, very intelligent. And that you had these people, it was a mixture because they were going through a hard time, so they were hungry, but at the same time they were also very intelligent, and behind that they put a lot of schooling. And then of course you have these personalities, the psychotic, crazy, and this and that. So it's not a coincidence that the people in charge were highly intelligent. Yes.
Uh, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read something to you that concentration camp survivor said. He said, "My eyes saw what no man should witness. Gas chambers built by learned engineers, children poisoned by educated physicians, infants killed by trained nurses, women and babies shot and burned by high school and college graduates. And I tell the teachers to teach not only the mind, but also the heart. And to the students, my message is to do the research. Not everything that they read, they hear, or they see is the gospel truth. Uh, so there is no question about it that some of the most intelligent people, okay, professionals, were part of the uh, biggest and most recorded crime in human history. However, there were also regular people that participated willingly. In my opinion, the Ukrainians were the worst. The Poles came a very close second. And the Romanians, which a lot of people do not know, are also, okay, very, very close. And to give an example, because I grew up in Romania, the Romanian troops rounded up 19,000 Jews from Odessa, okay, and burned them alive. It's beyond comprehension the inhumanity of man towards man. Uh, so, what I'm trying to say is the Holocaust, okay, was conceptually done by some of the most intelligent by the Nazis, some of the most intelligent people, educated. But a lot of the crimes themselves were also performed by regular people. Yes, there were people that saved Jews, but when we are talking about, it's not in the large numbers that it would have stopped the crime.
Understood. So it seems that there was crimes on all levels. There were the intellects that fueled it from their level, and then there were like the Neanderthals. I guess we'll call them the knuckle draggers, and they were involved doing vicious things also.
Now, one of the things is uh, many times, okay, people say that the a lot of people do not know that besides the people that actually committed the crimes, but how did the Nazis and their collaborators know where the Jews lived outside of their own country? And American companies, okay, participate in it because the American companies built Germany after, okay, World War One, okay, and they also kept the machine going for many other groups. But the interesting part is, and I think I mentioned this before, okay, how the Nazis and their collaborators knew where the Jews were was because of the IBM. They came out with the census tickets and they gave out those census records to the Nazis.
Wow, that's something I didn't know.
Yes. Now, eventually they switched sides and they helped the Americans. But initially, okay, they were the ones, okay, so obviously there were also individuals that for various reasons, uh, hatred, uh, because they wanted, their homes, their properties, whatever reason, okay, they gave up the Jews, okay, but the biggest culprit, in my opinion, initially was IBM.
Interesting. Okay, but my original point of the idea that you had such a high level army doing such atrocities, it means when you have a vicious guy or a jealous guy or whatever, then you know they're simply fueled by what they want. But when you have highly intelligent people, so I can't remember exactly, but they say that there was three personality disorders specifically that a lot of these high level Nazis they suffered from, because without it they wouldn't be able to justify what they're doing. Yes, like you said many times, there was brainwashing and all of this, but
What were
there
the
was
three times? What were the three things?
I cannot remember. I know that one of them had to do with just like being psychotic. There was a viciousness and also this self grandeur that a lot of them believed that they were just elite, that there was something very very high
Well,
value about them.
maybe okay, it played a certain role, but I firmly believe that everything had to do with ideology. When they bought into the ideology, and that's why they portrayed the Jews as threats. That the Jews are a danger not only to Germany but to humanity, and they bought into it. It was easy for them, okay, to do what they did. The other interesting thing, and I mentioned this before, is that when you do something often enough and there is no adequate response, people that do the crimes and the rest of the world, they just become desensitized. And the first time is the most difficult one. But once you do it several times, after a while, it's just routine. They don't think about it. They don't think about it as a crime. They just bought into the ideology. And that's why I said before, not every German that joined the Nazi Party was a Nazi. Many times after the Nuremberg laws, when teachers could not teach, doctors could not practice medicine, if they wanted to have their jobs, okay, they had to joined the Nazi Party, but they did not believe in the ideology.
Right.
It's
Right.
the same thing like in a communist country. If you wanted to advance in your career, you had to join the Communist Party. Does not mean that they automatically believe in communism, in the ideology.
Right. You know, it's interesting. The
But that's my
I,
opinion. Not everybody will agree with me.
no, it makes sense. It's just interesting how many layers there are. I was just while you were speaking, I was trying to see if I could find it because I have the page open on the internet. Of course, I can't do two things at once because I'm a man. But what's interesting is that this all took place within a hierarchy. Um, you know, as arrogant as a lot of these leaders were, they were only allowed to believe that they were to a certain point. You know, you take Hitler's inner circle, and you have these people that thought that they were the greatest people in the world, but he didn't allow them to go past a certain ceiling. And he always had them fighting with each other. It was part of his plan. He wasn't so stupid. He may not have been smart like they were, but he was street smart, it seems. He
Yes.
knew how to play things.
And I want everybody to remember January 20, 1942.
Hmm.
Okay. 15 high ranking Nazi criminals got together in a city which today is part of Berlin, Wannsee. At the Wannsee conference, they decided the final solution of the Jewish question, which for me is the official day of the Holocaust.
Mm.
And if you remember, I said that they started initially with Europe, and once they were going to murder all of the European Jews, they were going to open up a museum in Prague, and they were going to call it the Museum of the Extinct Jewish Race.
Yeah, this is why
We
they
have to
didn't.
understand that those were 15 high-ranking Nazi criminals, a small group that decided the final solution.
Yeah, this is
But there
why
were
they
many
didn't.
stages, okay, that led to it. And the interesting part of it is that there are 10 stages, okay, that lead to genocide and Holocaust. But the first 7 are only leading to it. Only the last 3 are the, how shall I say,
Like the
the one,
clutch, like when it happens.
yes, is the one that actually implements it.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Let me check something if I can find it. Obviously, you will be able to edit it.
Right. I have a
Uh,
question for you while you're looking.
yes.
How did you know I was going to ask you that question, that you had an article ready to read to me earlier?
Because I have the PowerPoint and it's on my PowerPoint. Okay, so take a look at here. There are 10 stages uh, of Holocaust and genocide by Dr. Gregory Stanton.
Mhm.
The first 7 are early signs. Number 1, classification, us versus them. Symbolizations, triangles with various colors, signs, letters. Discrimination, segregation, apartheid, etc. Dehumanization, portrayed as animals, rats, pigs, monkeys. Organization, usually by the state. Polarization, groups are driven apart. And 7, preparation, identification. This is ghettos, various camps, and everything else. These are the initial stages. Now comes the final implementation. Persecution, separate victims by ethnicity, religion, prisoners of war, extermination, and the final stage, denial. So I want you to understand, which is very important, okay? Because I want especially the young people, and that is my mission in life, to see the signs of today. and to stand up, okay, and hopefully prevent future tragedies. To
Right.
understand what happens if they are bystanders, if they don't do anything.
Right. It's interesting because this well, the movie Escape from Entebbe, which was based on when they hijacked the plane, and I'm sure you're very familiar with the movie. I'm sure you're familiar with the story.
Yes, because my friend, okay, Avi Avner, he did an exhibit in also was part of the movie, okay, and called uh, Operation Finale. And this is
Right.
the capture. Oh, you're talking about Entebbe. That's something different. Yes.
Right.
Okay, go
No,
ahead.
it's just interesting based on these steps you're talking about. There's a certain point in the movie where they play, the sad music from the
Yes,
Holocaust, the famous, and they start separating the Jews. And I think it's interesting because it was like the movie was trying to portray a Holocaust within a few hours. And they went straight to step number 8, 9, and 10 based on what you're saying. Now I understand it. I understood it, but now I can understand what I was seeing. That when they took that plane and they hijacked it, everything is like a regular hijacking. But as soon as they separated the Jews, boom, they went to the top of that staircase you're talking about now.
correct.
That's fascinating.
Correct. That's
Wow.
why I'm trying to say uh, one of the things that nobody else does is I give away my website and my PowerPoint to the young people. There is so much information and
Very important.
nobody remembers everything from one presentation. And that's why I want to have it so they can always, okay, refresh their memories, pick up a topic and discuss it with other people.
Right. And it's in the description every time we make a video. It's in the description. Nobody has any excuse. They all they have to do is click. Nowadays, all you got to do is click. There was a time when you actually had to put in the work. When I was a child, you had to open up an Encyclopedia Britannica. Now you have to just click on Google.com. You have all the answers in the world. We're the smartest and the stupidest generation all at once. It's amazing.
I
Thank
can't
God.
imagine how the world will be in 50 years.
Right. Did you ever hear it's like a joke. They say that 20 years ago, the math teacher would say, how much is two cows plus two cows? No, how much is two plus two? Then 10 years ago, the teacher would say, how much is two cows plus two cows? And then a few years ago, the teacher would give you a calculator. And now the teacher will sit next to you and help you figure out how to use the calculator. It's true. It's
It's
just
totally
sad.
different. Yes.
Uh, Anyways, they have modern technology, so it's good
So,
also.
but as you can see, this is an never-ending discussion because every time that you say something, it brings up other more questions.
Yes.
Okay, so obviously I don't know everything. Nobody knows everything, but as you can see, I can to every question that you ask, I bring the best with something new, so people can refresh their memories what they have learned on the first presentation.
Right. And apply it. And
Yes,
apply it. I think that even if you're not living in a time like Nazi Germany, I think that's something to notice. The more we speak, it comes to mind is hatred. Everybody walks around with some hatred. Sometimes it could be something simple, I hate when this happens to me. But nobody is without the idea of hatred. I hate that guy, I hate this guy, I hate doing this, I hate doing that. So I think the fire, the flame is always there. And I think this is part of the danger that no matter how peaceful of a society you're in fact, sometimes when things are too peaceful, people get away with talking harsh words that can have very, very crucial backlash that they don't
well,
realize.
okay, well, let me explain or put it in a different perspective of
Sure.
what is said. Okay, You remember that my first presentation, I said there is a virus that can never be eradicated.
Yes.
Okay. And that is the virus of bullying, bigotry, Jew hatred, okay, hate, okay, racism, and ideology. It was always there. It will always be there. Depending on technology, will take different forms. And that's why the only way we can combat it is only through education.
Right.
Okay. And so it's something, that it's part of human nature. And that's why it's so important, especially what I do and the other survivors. And it's not only survivors, there are other people that are also motivational speakers to educate the young people. Okay,
Right.
hate can be done.
How do you,
We have seen many examples that people that hate it and are able to overcome it and to become, upstanders and loving people.
right. How do you feel about this idea? You know, I brought up the Germans, then you brought up the Romanians and the Ukrainians, etc. How do you feel about this concept of staying away from German items just because it's German? This is how I grew up. Yeah, as you know, my father is German.
That's what my father, how he felt,
If
because
if
he
I
lost many members of his family. He said he will never buy a German product or set foot in Germany. And I, as the younger generation, had to make the change, of the reconciliation.
right,
My father, the older generation, could not do it. For
right.
them, it was the pain was too raw.
Right. You know, it's funny when my father passed away, as a joke, one of the first things I said, okay, now I can buy a Mercedes. Not that I would ever be interested. It's not my style. But for my father, it would hurt him deep in his heart if you would
No,
purchase
no question.
something.
No question.
And I would say to him, but this is through God. It could have been anybody. He said, yes, but it was them. Do you feel this? Yeah, from what I know of you, I would imagine you don't feel the same way. You have a different way of looking at things. I'm starting to understand. But would
Well,
you? Sorry.
you have to understand the way you feel about a particular subject. It will go to the next two generations, each one a little bit less. Okay,
Right.
the fourth generation will be free, okay, of your feelings.
Interesting.
Okay, so interesting. Okay, so I don't know about my son because I haven't talked to him, but he may have certain feelings about the Holocaust. My grandchildren will have a totally different perspective. For them, it will be history. It will not affect them personally the way it affected my father, the way it affected me, the way maybe it affected, my son.
Right. Also, the ripple effect. It's like when something happens, however close you are to that experience, that's how much it
Right,
affects you.
right.
But if somebody wouldn't want to buy a German product, wouldn't you think maybe they shouldn't want to buy a Ukrainian product either, or Romanian product, or is there something, I guess, because the Nazis led the way? I mean, what do you make of this?
Well, because the Holocaust was perpetrated primarily, okay, by the Germans. There were other countries, other people from other countries, collaborators that participated in the annihilation of the Jewish people. But the identification is with Germany. And I'm going to repeat something that very few people know. Okay, there are only two countries, to the best of my knowledge, that have accepted responsibility for their role in the Holocaust. Obviously, Germany. But very few people know that Romania also
Huh.
accepted. okay, its role. And it's an old article, but I want to show you. Can you see it, what it says?
Romania faces its past.
As a matter of fact, okay, I mentioned it before, but I got from them $238 for being deported by them. But it's not the amount of money. Initially, I said, what is $238?
It's the
Okay.
acknowledgement.
Yeah, it's a slap in the face. That's how I felt initially. But the more I thought about it, I said, it's not the money. It's the
Yes.
fact that they admitted their role in the Holocaust. There is no other country that has accepted. In Ukraine, they murdered 1.5 million Jews. They never took responsibility. In Poland, they murdered so many Jews. They didn't accept their responsibility. They always say, well, we helped the Jews. Yes, there were people that helped the Jews. There is no question about it. They were good people. They were good Germans that helped the Jews. Okay? Uh, but you cannot say it in a blank, that we helped the Jews. You are also part of the extermination, the annihilation of the Jewish people.
But it's so interesting. You see what's going on here. They want to deny it because they don't want to have the exact reaction that you're giving when they deny it. If they would
Correct?
admit it, you wouldn't be upset.
Correct.
So they're not smart enough to realize that, take
And
responsibility, and people will
okay,
respect it.
and once you admit it, okay, this is the beginning of the process of healing.
Right. It seems
And
like
that
it's a
it just perpetuates certain negative feelings.
yeah. Seems like an old style of thinking to try to, push somebody into denial when if you just apologize, they'd
I'll give you a
appreciate it.
personal example. Okay, I have many reasons to be bitter, angry, revengeful at the people that put me in a situation that became homeless. But by taking responsibility, all of a sudden, I became a free man. I don't have the need to blame them.
Yes.
Circumstances. I made mistakes. Okay. They took advantage of my stupidity. So I had to forgive myself and I had to be kind to myself. And I'm a free man. And they do not understand that. That is what the leaders of today, and I cannot talk about other countries, I talk only about the United States because I live here. Okay, the leaders of our country do not teach the young people to take responsibility. If you pay attention to the news, nobody is accountable. It's always somebody else's fault, circumstances.
Absolutely. And when you take responsibility, you take control. If you don't take responsibility, there's nothing you can do. Keep blaming the other person and you gave them all of your power. It's a shame.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's a shame. These are lessons that should be part of the classroom. They're busy teaching them things that not to minimize, but there are ways of looking at life that would be wonderful if they applied it into the school curriculum. If you take responsibility, now you're in control. Now you could do something. It can help marriages, business, it can help everything.
Correct.
Just help your frame of mind. I agree with
Correct.
you.
Correct.
I agree with you. The other lesson is life isn't easy. Don't expect it. It's a very, very interesting conversation we had today. And now I'm going to have to spend the next week thinking on something to connect. But as I told you, I like this new style of continuing the interviews where we flow from one topic to another.
And
Those are my
today, to keep it short, you have a lot of work to do to edit it.
I don't know. I think I might leave it. Who knows? It's good. It's
Leave it the
good to
way it
see.
is.
We'll see. We'll take a look. We'll see.
Okay, it's longer than you wanted it to be, but
Yeah. Isn't
it's always something comes up and brings more questions.
yeah. The beautiful thing about YouTube is that it's there forever. So somebody can come back. We're sitting here talking now. Somebody can watch us in 2 years. You'll be out doing something. I'll be out doing something else. And somebody is observing and they're learning something. So, and like you said, they can sit down, they can watch it in 2 parts, 3 parts. There's no rush.
Right.
I I would love to put a sign on the beginning of all our interviews that says, you know, you can put the phone down and drive. You don't have to look at us. We're not changing that much during the conversation. Just listen, and you'll learn something. But anyways, thank you again. Appreciate it.
Okay, my pleasure, my honor. And next week we shall continue at the regular time. And by the way, I just want to wish you, your family, everybody, okay, sweet, happy, healthy New Year.
Amen. Thank you so much.